willkommen zu Cuto Cuto, Episode Nummer 31. Ansgar, was zur Hölle ist heute los?
Heute ist was ganz Besonderes. Wir haben, man glaubt es kaum, Halleluja, nach einem Dreivierteljahr Cuto Cuto, 31 Folgen, oder beziehungsweise nach 30 Folgen, haben wir heute endlich unseren Gast, und zwar Tom Payne.
Juhu!
Cuto, 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 Cuto!
Wer ist Tom Payne? Sag mal kurz, Jonas, was fällt dir zu dem ein, zum guten und sehr netten Tom?
Wir haben immer wieder gesagt, wir holen uns einen Gast rein und wir haben diesmal gesagt, okay, warum nicht? Wenn schon, denn schon, dann einen richtigen, echten Hollywood-Star. Er lebt in Hollywood, arbeitet in Hollywood und er ist dem einen oder anderen bekannt dadurch, dass er bei der Medicus, The Physician, den Rob Cole, den Medicus gespielt hat. Hier in Deutschland großer Film gewesen, mit vielen deutschen Stars dabei. Dann allerdings ging es auf einmal richtig durch die Decke und er war nicht nur in Europa bekannt, sondern wurde weltweit zu einem Star mit der Serie, Ansgar?
The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead, genau so sieht's
Da
aus.
hat er Jesus gespielt, ne?
Da hat er Jesus gespielt und hatte tatsächlich auch lange Haare, langer Bart. Aber er dadurch natürlich erkennbar und er hat echt einen coolen Typen gespielt, der da ganze 3 Staffeln am Start war. Dann allerdings wurde er von hinten erstochen und aus der Serie rausgerissen quasi mit seinem Tod. Was er darüber sagen, wie er das fand, ob ihm das gefallen hat oder nicht, dazu hören wir gleich mehr, wenn er hier bei uns in der Show ist.
Fangen wir mal direkt an. Wir haben das tatsächlich per Skype aufgenommen, und zwar am Sonntag. Und zurzeit befindet sich Tom Payne in New York. Jonas ist weiter in Münster, ich bin in Berlin. Er ist nämlich gerade in New York, weil er eine neue Serie am Start hat, nachdem er bei The Walking Dead raus ist. Und die heißt Prodigal Son. Und in der Serie spielt Tom einen Profiler, der für das NYPD arbeitet. Und das Besondere dabei ist, er kann sich ganz besonders gut in die Minds von Kriminellen und Killern reinversetzen, weil sein Vater, gespielt von Martin Sheen, ein Serienkiller ist, der schon seit 20 Jahren im Knast sitzt, zu dem er eine komische Beziehung hat. Und das ist das Besondere, ne? Crime-Serie und er mit diesem verrückten Serienkiller als Vater.
Dad, why did you kill all those people?
I'm not sure I know the answer. Maybe we can figure it out together.
Wright's the best profiler around. Nobody else can get inside the mind of a killer like him. Yeah, chip off the old block.
This wasn't only murder, it was torture.
We're afraid you might suffer from certain psychotic inclinations, not unlike your father's.
Do not go to him. He will destroy you.
My boy.
Once that you've decided on a killing,
I became a profiler and hunted down people like him.
and if you find that your hands are still willing,
You think like the killer.
I imagine the crime from the killer's point of view.
then you can turn a murder into art.
It's a gift. There's so much I can teach you about murder.
I don't need your help.
What were you thinking? It's a kind of genius.
1, 2, 3.
We're the same. What a thrill.
Und Prodigal Son beginnt tatsächlich am Montag, also wir haben einen Tag vor dem Release, das mag jetzt gestern oder vorgestern sein, je nachdem, wann diese Folge hier rauskommt, ist die Premiere, also ganz exklusiv, einen Tag vorher haben wir ihn noch gesprochen. Das ist eine Serie, die zur Primetime auf Fox läuft, aber dazu auch gleich mehr in unserem Telefonat bzw. Skype-Call. Und ich würde sagen, wir legen einfach mal los, oder ja?
So sieht's aus. Welcome to the show, Tom Payne.
So, Tom, so glad that you have time and found the time to do this real quick, and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
Let's jump right in. Actually, as long as Jonas is a big, I mean, I'm also a big fan, but a really big Walking Dead fan, he will start maybe with the first 2 questions. Jonas,
Okay.
you did.
Yeah, that's right. I am a big fan. But first of all, before we come to The Walking Dead, I would like to ask you a question about the physician, their medicus.
Der
it's
Medicus.
called. It was a huge movie, a huge film over here in Germany, and I think in Europe, I don't know if it's globally that successful. And I heard that you on another podcast, I think it called Table Manners, which was quite interesting.
Yeah.
You said that you were a little. Correct me if I'm wrong. That you were a little disappointed with the career opportunities, with the career start after the leading role in such a huge movies. Is that correct or?
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting thing because that movie was about I don't know, like $35 million, and it was this huge production, and we had Ben Kingsley and Stellan Skarsgård and Ilyas Mbarek and Fari Yardim and like all these great people, and it was, you know, they spent a lot of money on it. It looked amazing, and you have these moments in your career where you're just like, oh, this is going to be the job that pushes me over the edge and puts me at the top of the lists, and I think it did that for me in Germany, although I didn't speak German. And that was my moment when I was like, oh, damn it, I really should have spent my time learning German, because I definitely could have used that movie to do other work in Germany. But it was a big hit in Germany and Spain and Austria and in a few other places. It actually, a lot of people here have watched it on Netflix, which is really nice. And I've had American fans come up to me, which is really nice actually, because I'm quite proud of that movie, and I think you did a good job, and everyone did a great job. And actually, at the end of the day, I've come to realize that it was a great opportunity for me to lead a movie and have that experience without being exposed to the whole of the world. Like it was nice for me to do that in Germany for German fans and Spanish fans, and for them to enjoy it. And then before I do it, like a big, whatever the next big movie will be, but it helped to prepare me for where I am now, leading a TV show and being on The Walking Dead and stuff. I learned a lot from that experience, and so it might not have been the movie that made me this big worldwide star, but I definitely learned a lot from it, and I'm very grateful to it.
Yeah. So it didn't give you the Hollywood boost, but it made it made you internationally known, and that people know your acting skills, right? Yeah, that you can lead in a movie like this with Ben Kingsley and Skarsgård.
Yeah, but it's nice to point at and say, look, I can do that. Yeah, it's great.
But then came The Walking Dead, obviously one of the biggest show on earth, right? And
I shot 3 episodes in the 6th season, and I hadn't really watched the show, and I was aware of it because Andrew Lincoln, who plays Rick, was from my hometown actually, Bath in England, and I had met him before, and we had worked together on another project a few years before I joined the show, and so, but I was aware that it was popular, but it was when I had shot it, and then me and my girlfriend at the time, Jennifer, went to the premiere of the 6th season, which was at Madison Square Garden in New York, and it was completely insane. Yeah. And that's when I realized that it was kind of a big deal. And oh wow, I actually had that moment of, oh wow, I'm gonna lose something in my life I might not be able to get back. Which, like, my anonymity and my, just who I am. And because when you've been doing your career, I mean, I was 31, I think, 31, 32. And, I've been working for a long time. And even when I've done big stuff like The Physician, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm recognizable everywhere. But The Walking Dead, definitely, I couldn't go anywhere in the world without someone recognizing me, especially with my long hair and beard. Yeah. So that definitely put me on the map in that way. And at the same time, that was a really nice experience because all of the pressure wasn't on me on that show. I got to go in and have a really fun part and do some flashy sequences, but I knew that it was within a show that was already very successful, and that I could just enjoy that and then experience what it was to be in something which was so big. So it was nice, and with other people who had been in that show for a while and knew what it was. There was a lot of welcome to The Walking Dead when I first arrived, because there were lots of different situations that I found myself in, which were like, wow, this is a bit weird, and the other actors would be like, welcome to The Walking Dead. It was fun, and it was good to be on.
Welcome to the world of Walking Dead. I mean, that is unimaginable for me to, I mean, you were like famous before, but then everything went through the roof, right?
I remember I specifically asked Andrew Lincoln, like, is there anywhere in the world you can go?
Yeah.
And he said no. And that's really scary.
No
Like,
restaurant, no, nothing, right?
Like, so you carry this kind of anxiety. I mean, you get used to it, and you know who's going to recognize you to a certain extent, and where you're likely to get recognized. But it still kind of follows you around.
Yeah,
I had the long hair and the beard, so I was very recognizable.
Yeah, the long beard, the long hair. I mean, you look like Jesus, actually. So, but do people then? I mean, at this time, did they look weird at you, or something? Gave you a weird look, or something, or did they just say, "Hey, Jesus, how are you?" Or is it?
Yeah, it's a combination of things, but you just know the look that someone gets in their eye when they recognize you. When you just know, and you're very aware. You become super spatially aware of who's around you and where you are, and basically just don't catch anyone's eye. Yeah. If you catch someone's eye, then they see an opening to a conversation. But honestly, I also really enjoyed that side of it. That show connects with so many people on so many different levels, and it's weird because it's a show about zombies and there's lots of blood and guts and trauma in it, but it's a really nice way to connect with people. And I've done a lot of these conventions where I've met thousands of fans at this point. And to see how it brings people together and how meeting you can bring a smile to someone's face is really wonderful. That was honestly the best part of the job for me.
Yeah, true fans, right? True fans.
Yeah, really cool. True fans. Yeah.
But then, I mean, you actually then were written off the show, right? I mean, your character got killed off by a whisperer, right?
Yeah.
So how did you find out? Was it like, hey, a call or something? Hey Tom, we have to write you off or something, or was it different? Is it, because I mean, The Walking Dead is very much, or many things are top secret, right? New characters top secret. Who's gonna die are top secret.
Also, it's based on the comic book, and my character doesn't die in the comic book. In fact, the comic book has now finished, and he survived till the end. So my death was a big surprise on the show. But at that time, it was just a phone call that Angela Kang, the showrunner, called me, and I was actually Skyping with my other half, Jennifer. And I was like, oh, hang on, the showrunner's calling me. Oh, it might be The Call. And then it was The Call. I texted Jennifer back. I was like, oh, it was The Call. And she was like, what? But at that time, I had been on the show for 3 years. They were aware that I wouldn't be upset if they wrote me off. I had kind of, that's the longest I've ever been on any one job. And I felt at that time that I had gotten everything that I was going to get out of it, as far as just enjoying the job really anymore, because they weren't giving me a huge amount to do. Like, I had all the martial arts stuff, which was really fun, but it wasn't stretching me as an actor in any way. It was quite a simple part to play, but very fun, and I enjoyed it. But at the same time, towards the end of my time there, I was getting a bit bored and annoyed with the whole thing, because I wanted to move on and do something different. And I think they were
kind of relief right then.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was I was happy about it, and I think they were kind of surprised about that actually. She called me on the phone, and I think that I think I was the first person, because Angela was the new showrunner at that point for that season, and I think I was the first person that she had called to say that they were going to die, and I think she was a bit nervous about it as well, but she was like, okay, so we've decided this is going to happen. I was like, oh, okay, cool. How's it going to be? Like, I just want to I want to tell a good story, and I want it to be exciting and cool. And if that means that they kill off a character, in a surprising way, then great. I want to be a part of that. And so I wasn't really, upset. I just want to tell a good story. And then, like I said, it was the end of my time. I felt like I was ready to move on and excited about moving on. So at the end of the day, it was fun. Like, we did this really cool sequence where I got stabbed, and it was fun because I introduced the Saviors to the show and Negan. And on the way out, I introduced the Whisperers. So it was a moment in the show, which is all you ever want, really. Like, I think the worst thing that could happen is that I got bit. Like, I did not want to get bit by a zombie and go out. Like, I wanted some kind of really cool ending. They gave me a really cool ending.
It was a cool ending. I mean, it was very foggy, and a Whisperer stabbed you in the back, right? Is this? So, and the surprise on your face, that it's. I mean,
it's over. He's the most capable character. Like, I said to Angela, I was like, well, it's got to be lots of guys jumping on him and killing him, or it's got to be a big surprise, because out of everyone, he was the best fighter. But then it was really cool because if he gets killed by them, then they can really kill anyone. So that was a fun story to tell.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, cool. I actually have one more question about your Walking Dead time, because now, I mean, once now your character got killed, right? Jesus is gone.
Yeah.
You still had the long hair and the beard though going on, right? How long were you like? So now it's you walking, through LA. You probably go to auditions. I mean, did you? And I guess as long as you had it for 3 years, it was kind of. Don't get me wrong, like a trademark. People would recognize you. So, did you think, "Fuck, I'm gonna have to wear this forever," or did you get used to it so good you wanted to wear it, or and then at some point you changed it? How does that come together with your looks, with your long hair and your beard?
Well, it was actually a kind of a gift having that, because it meant that whenever The Walking Dead finished, I could completely change my look, which as an actor is pretty cool. Like I could just become a different character. So I had thought that I might keep the long hair, because the beard I can grow back in a few weeks, but the long hair took me 3 years to grow. So I thought, there might be a part in that new Lord of the Rings that they're doing, or the Vampire Chronicles, that there might be some cool part, because there aren't that many male actors with long hair. So I also kept it until my character was revealed to be dead on the show, because that would be a bit of a shock otherwise. And because I like the mystery behind it all, and keeping the secrets and stuff. But yeah, I kept it just in case, because there aren't that many actors with that look. But then, as it turns out, I got a job which I had to cut it off, so I cut it off.
But did you cry? Or was it then easy? Was it also like a relief for you, or how did you feel?
Actually, I did cry. It's one of those things. Like, I understand when people have their long hair cut now, and why women especially get so upset about having a bad haircut or having whatever, because it's part of you. Like, it's literally grown out of your body, and everything that's happened in the last 3 years of you having it is in your hair. Like, it represents a lot of experiences and growth that has happened. So it was weirdly emotional. And then when I went back to LA, I had it with me. I had it in a bag, and Jennifer took it out of the bag, and she cried as well, because there's a lot of history in it. So, and it really, we all have growing pains in our lives when you realize that you're moving into the next stage of life, and that's what this was. It was an abrupt stop. It was like, okay, this time of life is over, and now we're moving into the next stage of life. So it was nice to have it so black and white like that. But at the same time, it was a little bit traumatic.
Did you keep the hair?
I have it. Yeah.
You have it. You still have it. Oh, okay.
Great. So let's talk about your new show now, which actually will premiere tomorrow, which is a really, really huge thing. Prodigal Son. Yeah. Actually, it's going to be on Fox. I think 9 p.m. tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're figuring out the German. Hopefully, fingers crossed, expect it to do pretty well. So we'll be doing deals across Europe pretty soon.
That's cool, because actually there's some ways with like Sky, they have like some Fox shows, but not all. So I'm not pretty sure actually how. Sometimes they wait and see how it goes, whatever.
Exactly.
I don't know how that's gonna go. Yeah. But anyways, congrats on that, and Jonas and I will, keep our fingers crossed for tomorrow.
Of course,
And can you just tell us real quick? I mean, actually, we had the privilege to watch the pilot because it was online for a while on YouTube, actually, and it was great. It was crazy in some ways. It was, there was suspense. It was a little funny, also like darkly funny. Yeah. How would you describe it with your own, in a few sentences and in your own words?
Like you said, it's a lot of different things. It has it's rooted in a pretty dark story that exists in the world. There are children of serial killers out there who are dealing with that reality, and so it has that really strong emotional family part to it. And then it has the dark humor, and it's slightly heightened. I've been thinking about this a lot because obviously I've been doing lots of press and I have to talk about it. And I've noticed a little bit of criticism yesterday in a newspaper article about how because it's network television, it can't be super dark and can't really go fully into the subject matter. And my response to that is that, well, if you want that, then you go and watch Mindhunter on Netflix, or you go and watch something really dark. At the end of the day, we're making entertainment, and it's entertainment. It should be not too dark and not too off-putting for people. And I think it's a difficult balance to strike. But I think we're pretty on the money with it. And I mean, I've watched a few episodes of it now, and it's weird because it does make you laugh at times, and you feel a bit weird for laughing. And I think that's where these news articles might come from. It's like, well, should I be laughing? I don't know if this is the subject matter, because on the face of it, it's about this serial killer played by Michael Sheen, who's wonderful, and the trauma that comes with that. But at the same time, then it has laughter on top. And I think once people realize that they're allowed to laugh and that it's supposed to be amusing and funny and entertaining, that I think people will really enjoy it. But at the same time, I spent the end of one episode, I'm crying my eyes out about my family drama. And the next time I'm making jokes about my dad being a serial killer. But that's the character. The character is so screwed up through his family history that how do you deal with that in your real life? How do you function? And I think humor is a part of that.
Yeah, true. Do you actually, like you said, it is hard. Do you then, to prepare for a role like that, do you just read a lot of stuff? I mean, how do you get in this state of mind to play your character is called Malcolm, and he is, you could say, obviously his father is a serial killer, but he's also a little crazy. He has his methods. And I don't want to reveal too much for the first episode. There's something going on. Someone is stuck with a bomb, and he goes pretty crazy.
And,
but how do you prepare for that, or is there a way to prepare for that at all, or
I think he's a very particular type of person. He's taken a deep dive into serial killers and different situations involving them, and is used to that kind of world, in an effort to understand his father and to understand himself and where he might be going and where he doesn't want to go. He's looked at all of these different serial killers, and he's afraid definitely that there might be something within him that might be woken up at some point. And so that moment in the pilot, which is in all the trailers and stuff, where he chops off this guy's hand, is a really extreme moment. But at the time, it's what had to be done. It's just the amount of hesitation there, and he didn't really have any. And I think that it's that he's willing to cross those barriers, and he doesn't have he's not held back like some people might be. Which is interesting. We talked a lot during the pilot. Me and the director talked about him being a mix of different people, and one of those people was the Mel Gibson character from Lethal Weapon, Riggs, who's just like in that movie. He's like he's suicidal, and so then it pushes him to a place where most people wouldn't go. And I think Malcolm lives in a world of extremes. And if your dad has killed 23 people, then those extremes are part of your life and something that you have to confront. His memory of his father is of this wonderful dad who took him on camping trips, and they, he was a really lovely dad. And then he became this killer. And so Malcolm's character is trying to juxtapose both of those things of like, well, I remember him as this great guy, but then he killed all these people. And at the end of the day, all of those scenes where he goes into his cell and talks to him, he just wants a hug, but he can't, he can't hug his dad because his dad is this monster. So that's really the center of it. And I've realized that those scenes that I have with Michael are exhausting because there's all of these different things at play, and it's just a struggle to be in the same room as him, which of course makes for great television. So it's exciting, but very tiring for me.
And then let's talk about him real quick. Michael, I mean, he's like he's a well-known actor. He's been around. He did so many stuff. He's been recognized. how cool or how hard or was it to work with him and having him? Actually, have you met him before? Have you worked with him before or not really?
I actually had never met Michael, but he's a bit of an acting hero for the British acting community, and I think the acting community in general. Like, he's a real chameleon type actor and has done so much stuff, and he's reliably good. He's like if you see, going back to Stellan, if you see Stellan Skarsgård in something, you're like, oh, it's going to be good. I know him. I trust him as an actor. And Michael's the same. It's like, oh, he's just brilliant, you know. And what's so fun with what he's doing now is that the biggest thing he just did was Good Omens on Amazon, where he has like bleach blonde hair and is completely shaved. And in this, he's got a massive beard, and it's just a completely different person. And it's just so wonderful to know that those scenes, they just work. They just flow, and they're exciting and fun because he's a safe pair of hands, you know. And he's also having a lot of fun with it as well. Like, he has funny lines. And what we learnt when they were doing screenings of the pilot before we started the show, they found that audience members didn't like it when characters were mean to Michael's character, which is screwed up because, you know, and that's the great thing about the show.
He's a serial killer, though.
Exactly.
Why? Right?
So it will make the audience like his character, and you're like, and that's great because when you can get the audience in the show and have them feeling things about characters like that they're kind of ashamed to be feeling. That's brilliant. That means you've got them, you know. So no, he's just wonderful, and he got it. He knows what it is. He's having a lot of fun with it. And when I found out that I had got the part, one of the most exciting things about it was working with Michael. I was literally jumping around my living room like, oh my God, I get to do these great scenes with Michael Sheen, because that's all I want, you know. I didn't have that for 3 years on The Walking Dead, really. There was a couple of occasions where I had a couple of scenes with Lenny James, who is another actor I really admire, I think is wonderful. And I had some stuff with him. But apart from that, I didn't really have any emotional grit to deal with on The Walking Dead. So then to go straight into this, which is the most emotional character I think I've ever played, was a really fun transition. And then to do it with Michael was great.
Can it be a little intimidating for, you then, or for someone, to be in one room and one scene with someone, or is that easy to handle? Like when we have your first pictures with him that are being shot, because he is so well known, or is that easy to go around for you?
Yeah, it's not. No, it's easy because I just see, everyone is the same. Honestly, I just want to see how good you are. Like I want to throw stuff around and act with you, and it doesn't matter how famous you are. Like I would honestly be disappointed if I worked with someone who was famous and they weren't very good. I'd be like,
of course.
I'm not someone who, obviously I have respect for actors and I had huge amounts of respect for Michael. But that can be lost very quickly as well if I'm like, wait, hang on a second. Especially if someone's being a dick. Like everyone, we're lucky that everyone in our cast is really nice and really respectful and they love what they do. Like we've got Lou Diamond Phillips in the cast as well, who I know from like Young Guns from when I was a kid and all this cool stuff. And he's awesome and completely down to earth. And he actually gave me his turkey chili recipe, which I made this weekend.
Really?
He's awesome. Really, really nice.
Cool.
And so, no, I don't generally get intimidated. It's more like, okay, show me what you got. Like, I'm excited. Like, I want you to prove to me that you're worthy of your position at the top of the acting pile. Like, I want to like get in the boxing ring with people and
cool.
see what it is. It's exciting, And I'm just scared that I might be disappointed at times. My worst thing is like I don't want to be disappointed by other actors, and in real life or on set. Like I want everyone to be here for the right reasons and doing it. And we're lucky. We don't have anyone who's starry or anything on our show, which is nice.
That could happen, right? On sets, that like someone who is like a big star is being a dick or something to the team or something, right? Have you ever? Obviously, you don't have to tell names, or you can, but that's still reality, right? That people give other people hard times or whatever, I guess.
Yeah, they do. And I'm just always really disappointed by that. I think what's fortunate on this show now is that I'm what they call number one on the call sheet. And so I'm top of the ladder. And I learned this on Walking Dead, actually, and actually on The Physician, on Medicus, that if you're number one, you set the tone for the production. And if you're not a dick, then it's very hard for anyone else to be a dick. because if anyone's going to be one, it's you. And so it's easy to like squash any of that kind of behavior. But yeah, I've heard stories of people, and actually, I just want to meet people like that on set and be able to slap them down and say like, "Who the fuck do you think you are?" You know, because at the end of the day, it's not just the actors. I mean, we're the ones who've got our faces on screen, but there's like hundreds of people behind the scenes who are helping to make the thing, and it's just not. You know, we're all doing the same job at the end of the day. We're all working the same hours, and we're so lucky to be doing it. And if you're working as an actor, then you've already won, really, because there's so many people that want to be doing what you're doing. We had a conversation on set the other day about method acting and how that is and how ridiculous it is, because there is no such thing as completely being the character, because there's still cameras in your face and you still have to deal with the makeup girl and the costume coming in and adjusting you and all this kind of stuff. It's a bit, you know, self-obsessed to be doing that kind of stuff, but it wouldn't work on a lot of different sets, because in order for you to be that kind of an actor, everyone else is allowing you to be that kind of actor. So it means that a production kind of revolves around that, which is not necessarily healthy, but it depends. It works for some people.
So that would mean that you stay in character all the time, even if the scene is over, right? So you would be John Malcolm for weeks or months, right? And
which is not like very healthy. Yeah, that's
probably not. Probably not.
In this case, not.
No, true. Have you ever met someone that you work with, like that stayed in character, and you like try to go to him, hey, let's have a coffee, and they like really acted crazy on you, and you're like, what the fuck?
I haven't. I've been fortunate enough not to have that. I have had, you know, sometimes behind the scenes it can be people have a similar attitude towards you that their character has, which you know actually works really well on screen, but at the same time, like, acting can be a pretty lonely job. And I don't want to. It's too much effort to make it even lonelier. Like I want to do the job and then hang out afterwards and be like, wow, this is cool. Look at what we get to do for a living. I don't want to lock myself up in my hotel room and be like, oh, I hate that guy, or like, oh, yeah, it's just kind of ridiculous. And I also don't think it's skillful. Like, I want to be impressed by actors who are really lovely and then can play a complete like asshole on. You know, I'm impressed by that. Like, I think. I talk a lot about like Gary Oldman. If you watch the behind the scenes of True Romance, he's like talking to Tony Scott and, you know, in his accent, and then action, and he's Drexel and with this American accent. And I mean, that's the skill to me, is to be able to turn it on and off like that and be normal behind the scenes, because it's very lonely. A lot of the time you're away from home, and it's not worth it to put yourself through that torture. To do it, like, I mean, fine if you want to do that, but I just don't see the point, really.
Like you are now away from home, right, in New York?
And I don't. And I just want it to be a nice atmosphere on set, and everyone's having a good time. And yes, I've had like emotional stuff to do on this set, and it takes you a few minutes at the beginning and after a take. But then if you are consumed by that, then you're going to have a pretty miserable time. And you've got to keep it fun, I think.
Actually, I have to say that True Romance is one of my most, it's like my all-time favorite in top 10 list, I think.
Yeah, it's great.
I just love that scene with Drexel and Christian Slater, how they fight over that porn movie. It's fun. It's a great character that he plays. Drexel is like, you can't even recognize him with the dreadlocks and shit.
Yeah,
really
I know, it's awesome.
Just do a quick about the production for Prodigal Son. I mean, now you're still shooting for us to get an understanding out of it. How does this work with the pilot? I mean, obviously you produce something. Do you produce it cheaper than the final version? Do you reshoot even the first episode?
Yeah, so you shoot a pilot, which is generally you have more time and more money to do that, and it's supposed to be, you know, the purest version of the show and like what the show should be. So we shot that back in March. And also in the pilot, you're trying out lots of different things. So there are aspects of the pilot that don't exist anymore because they didn't quite work. So we had different affectations that the character had, which we added in there, which then got edited out. So that's why sometimes the pilot can be, you know, you're trying to present this purest version, but actually throughout the first season is when you really start to nail down how the show works. So you're kind of learning as you go along. But yeah, you make the pilot, and then you hope that the network enjoys the pilot and wants to do it, and then they set you up for the season. So now we shoot 8 days an episode, and Fox, who are broadcasting the show, liked it so much that they wanted to put it on as soon as possible. So they have us premiering tomorrow, September 23rd, and then that meant that we are still filming while they premiere. Yeah. We're filming episode 7 right now. We'll start 8 next week, and then we're showing 11 episodes up until Christmas, and then we're going to see if the network likes the show, and then there might be what's called a back order, where they order more episodes, and we would keep filming for a bit longer. So it's weird, like, because I've not been in this situation before. Like with Walking Dead, it was an established show that I had entered into, but this one is more. This is the first time, and they're just gonna see how people like it. And if they really like it, then we make more, and it's we see. It's a weird situation to be in right now. In LA right now, you can't escape my face. It's like everywhere. There's posters everywhere, and there are posters in New York as well. As if you walk down to Times Square, we've got a big billboard down there. And
how does it feel to see your face, Tom, and on Times Square? Yeah, and then you're just like, what the fuck, man? Well, that's me, I mean,
it's a weird thing. It's one of those things. I had a bit of an emotional moment when I saw it down there, because when I first came to LA, like 2008. I was seeing a friend of mine, Ben Barnes, who was in Prince Caspian at the time, one of the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe movies, and he had a big billboard up on Sunset Boulevard. And that was definitely in my head, like, yeah, one day, like, I'd like to get there. And I had it with Walking Dead. I was on some of those billboards on Sunset Boulevard and that stuff. But this is, I mean, it's me. It's a really cool image of me and Michael's heads, like, mixed together. But it's weird. It's a moment where, when you get what you wanted, like, and then as far as LA goes and the business, hopefully it means visibility a bit more. Like with Walking Dead, everyone knew Jesus, and Walking Dead's a very popular show, and that was a good calling card. But this is my face and my name on the billboard, and hopefully it means legitimacy. Like, and that's Tom Payne. He's a lead actor, and we should get him in more stuff. We should employ him a bit more. And also just people watching what you do. You want to do the best work you can and have people watch it and enjoy it. And I'm excited for people to see it.
And actually, to be honest, how nervous are you about tomorrow, and like because then, I mean, you're gonna have all this, it's cable TV. You're gonna have like ratings, and numbers of people are watching, and you are. It's Monday, it's prime time, and you are the lead character. I don't want to build the pressure up, because I'm pretty sure you have it already. And there's, but how do you cope with that? Or do you just try to not to think about it? Or do you get drunk every night? Or what do you do?
Well, I'm not. I mean, actually, a few years ago, I probably would have gotten drunk. And I'm happy that this is all happening when it's happening, because I'm much more prepared for it now. My agent texted me yesterday, like, hey, are you pumped? And I texted him back. I'm like, not really, because I don't know what to expect. I don't know what it means. And I'm working again. Like tomorrow I go into work, and it's another day at work, and it's, we've still got a lot more to do. So I'm not expecting it to change my life. Even if it was like the most amazing premiere and everything was great, I'm still filming for the next few months. Like I can't do anything as a result of that. But we'll see. I mean, I honestly don't know. I don't know what to expect. So I think that's good. And I haven't got any expectations really of like, oh, this is going to be it. This is going to make me the most famous actor in the world. I don't know, basically. And because I've had, like I said at the beginning of the interview, like I've had moments in my career where it's been like, oh, this is going to be the job a few times, and it hasn't quite worked out in the way that I would. So I've learned to relax a lot more with that and take things as they come. And this one is a complete unknown who I have no idea how it's going to go down. So it's exciting. Yeah. And I want people to enjoy it. And I think they will. We had a good response to the YouTube premiere, and I think we've got a good show. So, and I honestly, there's a very good feeling on set. Like when we shot the pilot, there was a really good feeling about it. And I think it could be a show that keeps going for a while, but we'll see. Who knows? And these days of television, there is so much television out there. It's really weird landscape. I would have said 5 years ago, definitely 10 years ago, this show would have been the biggest show on television. Like, I've no doubt about that, really. But nowadays, who knows? There's so much out there and so much you're competing with that everyone's trying to get the show that everyone talks about, and we just have to see what people latch onto. And in that way, it's kind of tough for actors. Like, when I left The Walking Dead, I had no idea what the next move was. I knew like what I didn't want to do, but I didn't know what, because unlike Netflix or something, you can shoot a show for like 8 months, and then it gets pressed for like a week, and then people don't watch it as much. So okay, move on to the next one. And it's like, I don't want to spend 8 months of my life doing something that people then kind of watch, or it doesn't turn out well. So, because you want people to watch your work at the end of the day. So I think Netflix and a lot of the streamers are kind of a risky call. But if they hit massively. Like something like Stranger Things or something like worldwide, everyone watches it, like huge hit. But out of all of the material they make, that's not very much. Yeah. So this show was an opportunity to do something, first of all, as the lead. And secondly, I knew that the network would get behind it and advertise it, and it would be visible. Yeah. So at least whatever happens when it airs, and if people like it or don't like it, people are aware of it. Whereas I feel like a lot of stuff on the streamers just gets released, and it's just there.
Of course. So, they just need, they need content, more content. And like you said before, they need niche stuff, they need dark stuff, they need, mind hunters, then, whatever. Actually, although I think there's not a freedom. It's hard, but obviously Netflix never released their real numbers. And in your case, you can kind of get the numbers, right? So I guess
which is good and a bad thing.
It's a good and a bad thing. It's a more higher risk in some ways, I guess, or it's more pressure on, because Netflix can just say, hey, whatever, no, it's going good, and no one really knows how good it is going. You know what I mean? So I guess it's a good and a bad thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And they call it the golden age of television, but in a way, for everyone, it's getting harder, because for consumers you have so much stuff to choose from. It's so much, and it's getting more and more streaming services are knocking on the door, right? Streaming wars is coming. And for your actors, first, it's really exciting because you have so many job opportunities. But what you said is right. Every show has like a little time span where you can gain attention, and then it's over. And,
especially with this dropping a whole series at one time. With us, it's like that's a kind of a good thing and a bad thing, because this show that I'm doing will be weekly, and it will come out every week, and then it will be available online, but it will be weekly, which does still work. Like Game of Thrones weekly, Walking Dead weekly, and it has that anticipation. Whereas if you drop an entire series, it's there and it's done. Move on to the next one. It's nice to have that weekly thing. So it's a weird time. And you're right. Like you have Apple about to come out, and you have the Disney Plus.
Yes, Disney Plus.
I think Apple is fascinating because they're spending all this money, and they have these. Apparently the scripts are brilliant, and they have all these shows coming out, but they're starting from nothing again. Like they are really, I know they're going to give it to everyone who has an Apple product for a year. So that's a good way to get people in. But Disney has this massive catalog of stuff. So that's a big thing to compete. But also just going back years, they have all of the Disney product. Right. So if on the face of it, you'll get that before you get Apple, because it has all this other stuff. But Apple is, what are you buying? Like 5 television shows? Yes, it's going to be more than that. It's going to be more than that. But and then also we're back to, well, I don't want to spend money on all these different services. No. So 5 years from now, I think there will be winners and losers, and it's interesting to see who's still standing.
Well, it's kind of weird. Then do you pay like $10 for everything of though? I don't know.
Right. I think they've got to start like joining together at some point.
Yes, probably.
Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what will happen is what used to happen is that everyone just rips everything off, and you just end up torrenting stuff, and like, because you don't want to pay for this or that service. So, it's what happened with music. Everyone, I was ripping off music with Napster and LimeWire and those things back in the day. And then they made it easy. And now I have a Spotify account, and I can listen to anything I want anytime, and I will gladly pay for that.
Yeah,
But
right.
if it's, I think that has to happen with TV and film, and they're a bit behind the music industry because it's higher bandwidth that you need to watch stuff. But internet's only going to get faster. So people will just start ripping off TV shows and movies. So they do have to figure that out to make it cheap enough for everyone.
Yeah.
I have one more question. Actually, I read something that in the original cast, there was also Finn Jones was kind of in consideration or already kind of settled. And just for our audience, Finn Jones, people might know from Game of Thrones. He has his own Netflix show called Iron Fist. And then I guess they kind of then decided against him and towards you. Have you heard anything about this? Do you know the guy? Have you met him or something? Or
I actually don't know Finn personally. We have the same similar friends and stuff. But I mean, that was something that happens during pilot season, and there are these decisions that are made because there's lots of competition for actors as well. So networks sometimes get a little bit scared and go and just offer things out before they've really thought about it. And I had sent a tape in, and I had discussions with the creative team about doing the part. And at the time, I had my long hair and my beard, and I sent a tape in, and I went and met them and did another tape, and somewhere along the line couldn't see it basically with me in it, so offered it to someone else. And then they got down to the table read, and they were like, oh, actually, this doesn't. It's just the chemistry isn't right. It's just not quite fitting in the right way, which happens every year. And it's nothing to do with the actor necessarily. It's just, the dynamics of a situation. And every year people get recast and changed. And in this case, they just didn't feel that it was the right match. And so then they came back to me, and I did another tape where I shaved my beard and tied my hair up. And that was seemingly enough. And and then I came in and took over the part. But it happens. It's a thing that happens every year. Because of the competition for everyone. It's like, well, we need someone in the part, and let's offer it to this person. But it just wasn't quite the right match on this project.
How can we imagine? How does auditioning go in general? Do you really have like a date where you have to go? Does everybody just like sends in kind of cell phone videos or do you really sit there and that's actually the question. Do you like meet the same people sitting there auditioning for a part? It's like, hey, that's the actor guy again, something like that?
I mean, honestly, and that's what happened around Medicus. I was like, well, this is going to be the job that lifts me, up out of having to audition. And it didn't. To a certain extent, it did, but not really. Like Ben Barnes, who I mentioned earlier on, he and I have been going up for the same roles for years. And there's a few, you're just like young guy actor for a long time. And you're all competing for the same roles. And just by virtue of the job, people drop out of the career and people keep going, and the pool gets smaller. So it just ends up being the same people that you're auditioning with. But I never really see it as competition because everyone is slightly different in how they act and how they look and how they are. So
true.
But it can be frustrating to go up against the same people all the time. And after Medicus, I was in a bit of a ditch actually, as far as how I felt about things, and I had fallen into a trap of trying to give them what they wanted in auditions. And I went, Jennifer and I went to see Stellan at his country house, and he gave me kind of a nice pep talk about getting back to just being me and what I bring to a project. And then the next two tapes I did, one of them I got very close to, and then the next one was The Walking Dead. I mean, tapes, I hated taping for a long time. Because I started in the industry walking into a room with a casting director, director, and being directed and working on stuff. And then over my career, it has moved more towards self-taping. So you do it yourself with a friend at your house. And that's what I ended up doing for Prodigal Son as well. And it took me a long time to get into that because I don't want to look at my tapes and go, oh, I'll do this or I'll do that. And because I can do it a bunch of different ways. And I want to be directed, really. I hate having to make a choice and send that off. And then that's what it is. So the self-taping thing took me a while to come around to, but it's the norm now, and it's opened up casting around the world. I mean, I moved to Los Angeles because that was where I had to be at the time to get the jobs. But you don't have to be there anymore. You can be in London, you can be in Berlin, you can be anywhere and send a tape across the world and get the job. So the whole landscape has changed, definitely, while I've been acting.
Yeah. Cool. I have a question about this auditioning stuff, because after I graduated university here in Münster, I had difficulties to find a job, right? And I went from job interview to job interview and tried to motivate myself. And then I was thinking, for some jobs, like if you are an actor, it's your routine, right? Your weekly or monthly routine, and it's part of the job. So in a way, it motivated me to say, okay, some have to deal with that all the time. How do you get motivated for it? How do you get get yourself up again after a disappointment or cancellation or something like this?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've mentioned a lot, is that actors and performers here know more than anyone else, I think. And you do effectively, you're interviewing for a new job all the time, and the percentages are that you're probably not going to get it. I got very fortunate. When I left drama school, I signed with a great agent who I'm still with, and she got me lots of auditions. And so honestly, you just get used to not getting the job. And I got very good at auditioning for something and then forgetting that I'd auditioned for it, and just being like, going in, and then I got good at just letting it go afterwards. And there haven't been that many jobs that I have really, really been so invested in that it's crushed me that I haven't got it, because you can't do that. You can't put yourself through that all the time. It's just not healthy to put so much importance on one job or another. And it definitely, in the game of life, the jobs come when they're meant to. Like, every job that I've gotten has come at the right time for that job. And there is a sense, I'm quite philosophical about all of that, really. Things come along when they're meant to and when you're ready for them. And that's definitely been the case in my life. So I've learned to just not depend on, but just learn to go with the flow and not stress out too much about it, because it's not worth it. And you can't, and there's a lot of people who drop out of it because of that, because they place too much importance on it and don't trust in it. And you just can't deal with it. So you just learn to go with the flow, really, because you have to.
Yeah. Actually, I was wondering, Tom, how is it? And please be honest.
Okay.
How is it living in LA? Because I mean, I've been there. Actually, saw Jen when I was there in March. You weren't there. I think you were doing the pilot or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, LA is a beautiful city, right? But I'm coming from that point. I mean, you're coming from this kind of, small town in Britain. We're from Germany. And you know how here in Europe, people say, people in LA and Americans can be superficial. And, like sometimes can be a little annoying or something. Did it change you think, a little bit living in LA?
I think it's definitely chilled me out a bit more. I was there for work at the beginning. Like, I got a job and I was working there. So it took me a long time to get a foothold and to feel that it was my home, because it's very large and it's hard. You have to really find your people. But then once I started working there, then I really felt like I liked it. And I just felt a lot more freedom in LA and in America than I had felt in Europe. There's a lot of judgment that I had felt in Europe about how I conducted my life and my career and the ambition that I had, which is in America, they love all that stuff, and they like you to think like, I'm going to be the biggest actor on television. I'm going to lead my own television show. Which in England, it was like, okay, good luck with that. And it's just like, well, fuck you. I'm going to go and do that. You do whatever you want to do. And guess what? I did it. It's like, I've always been like that. And I've always believed that you can do whatever you want to do. And a lot of people are just held back by other people's opinions. And it doesn't happen quite so much in America. So that side of it, I really chimed with and wanted to be surrounded by. And yeah, it's hard to find your people but you know, if you talk to myself and Jennifer about living in LA before we met each other, we had completely different experiences of LA. Like Jennifer was like out with all of the crowd, like having dinner with DiCaprio and meet like she was like a young Swedish girl in LA, like doing the whole thing and going to all the clubs and stuff. And I wasn't plugged into that side of it at all. I was going to the, you know, British pubs and the bars and being a British guy in LA, which was completely different. And I enjoyed that side of it. But yeah, it takes a long time to settle into. But then when I got Walking Dead, that shoots in Atlanta. And at the time I had flirted with the idea of living in New York. I was like, well, maybe we should be in New York. And then I started to do press here, and I realized it's too close to London. And the reason why I left London is because it was too expensive, and the weather was crap, and I didn't feel it was just putting up with too much. And New York was a bit too similar. And now, I mean, I'm here now working, and it's also, yeah, it's expensive. So New York and London are fun when you can afford to really take advantage of them. But that's why I love Berlin so much, because Berlin is a city where it's a capital, but it's not crazy expensive. I know it's getting more expensive now, but I always felt like there was more possibility in Berlin, and you can really do some cool stuff there. Whereas London and New York are both, they can crush you quite easily, I think. And I always felt a bit more free in Berlin. And LA nowadays, like, we bought a house in the hills and we have this like nice LA. We're not, you know, I'm not living the early days in LA, which is fine in your 20s, where you can just go there and it's fun. You don't care who you live with or what you're doing. It's just you're out there being creative. But now I'm living the LA life, which is the comfortable LA life, which is very nice.
Yeah. So do you have like Robert De Niro living next to you, to your house or something? Probably.
We actually, next to us, we have Pamela Hasselhoff.
Really?
David Hasselhoff's ex-wife. Yeah, we've met her a few times. And actually, Marilyn Manson lives quite close to us as well.
Cool.
It's weird. We live in a part of LA which is really nice. We like it, and you never know. That's the other thing about LA. You just never know who's next door or who's around the corner, and that's really fun, actually. I mean, I like it still. It just literally, we can close our front door, and we love our house is so beautiful, and the weather there is nice, and it's just peaceful, and you can shut the door and get away from stuff. And that's what we enjoy about it. But, you know, once we get married and have kids and stuff, I don't know where we'll be.
End up.
You know, so we just see where life takes us, I think.
You might be living in Sweden or in Berlin.
Yeah,
who knows, you know?
Who knows? I definitely want to summer in Sweden. I love summers in Sweden. They're very nice.
I believe that. Actually, I was wondering about, you know, you being on The Walking Dead, how hard, and you just said before that, you know, obviously because of your hair and your beard, like, people would recognize you kind of easily. Did you at some point regret that? You said, hey, you know, right now I just want to go to the public bathroom and you know, just take a shit or something.
I think
one's standing there, you know?
Yeah. I think that's part of it. Like, you recognize that if you want to be a successful actor, then you're going to be in that position. And I don't, you know, any actors who complain about that side of it, I kind of annoy me a bit. And I'm just like, well, go and do theater then. You know, if you really want to be an actor who's not recognizable and all that kind of stuff, then you can do that. But if you want to have the money and the success, then that's going to be part of your life. And with the when The Walking Dead, like I said before, like, I knew that who was going to recognize me and where I was going to be recognized. So there are certain places that you just don't go to. Or if you do, you know that you're going to get, you know, there'll probably be someone taking photographs. There's a few places in LA. And actually, it was only like when my cousin came to visit, she wanted to go to Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills, there are photographers just hanging out there. And I got photographed there crossing the street. And you might get caught at the airport sometimes. And actually now, this is why I'm slightly apprehensive about next week, because I've gotten used to not being recognized again. Because I cut my hair and beard off, and sometimes people recognize me, but not really. And I had a moment this week which reminded me of that moment a few years ago, where I was like, oh shit, that might come back now. and I'm really fucked because now I look like me.
I think that will happen after tomorrow. Just don't want to scare you or anything, but yeah, see.
It's fine, and it's just an adjustment, you know. It's just making that life adjustment and being aware of it and being like, oh, okay, people might recognize me again now, and it's fine. But it is nice to have it's nice to have your anonymity. I was watching The Rock on his Instagram the other day, because he's so recognizable. First of all, because he's massive, and secondly, because he's in all the, he's just everywhere. Yeah. And he was talking about his wedding and how him and his wife went to this restaurant and they had shut down the whole restaurant. And he hasn't been in a restaurant with his wife where he hasn't been bothered, for a long, long time. And it's just making that adjustment and knowing that that's going to go away. But then he works so much and puts himself out there so much. That's the deal that you make. I also feel like you can live a life where you get recognized and you can live a life where you don't get recognized as well. Like when The Rock walks into a room, he's there. Yeah. I feel like I can kind of go under the radar a little bit, and some people will recognize you, but it's about how you carry yourself in public. And if you are look at me, I'm important, then people will do that. But I don't really do that. Also, like I said before, I enjoy it. I like meeting people and making them smile. It's only when you're trying to do your grocery shopping or walk to the store and get some stuff without, it just makes your day a bit longer. When you go and get stuff and someone stops you. And it's also when one person stops you, then other people will notice. Other people. And then it rolls into something, because that's what happens at airports. That's why airports are kind of scary sometimes, because it's like, we all have to get on the same plane. But I have to do it without people recognizing me, and also, it's crowded places become a different thing. But
you have to leave at some point, right? And then it's kind of you then, not the ass, but they has to say, sorry guys, I have to go, and then someone is disappointed or whatever. I totally.
And there'll always be someone who they'll catch you at a bad time or something, or you're just like, no, I can't do that right now, and people want to have their opinions of you. But what's so great about social media and Twitter and Instagram and stuff is that you can be connected to the public still as well, and you can immediately say, I'm sorry, I was a dick last night, or I'm sorry I missed this because of this, blah blah blah. So that's nice as well.
We will ask, because you are our first guest or future guests. No, just one question about what they're actually watching on TV or in the movie theaters. Are you watching a series these days, or have you watched any recent movies in the movie theaters? Is there something that you can?
Yeah, I haven't. I actually think that the next movie I'm going to go watch is Ad Astra, that Brad Pitt movie, because I think it looks really good to watch on a movie screen. Yeah. So I'm going to go watch that. And I just finished watching Fleabag, the British comedy show, which is really good. And actually, Phoebe's nominated, Waller-Bridge, who wrote it and starred in it, she's nominated for a bunch of Emmys at the Emmy Awards tonight. Yeah. So I hope she wins. Yeah. But it's kind of hard. I'm working so much nowadays that show, Fleabag, is only 25 minutes an episode, which is kind of perfect. Yeah. But I've been trying to finish watching Mindhunter, but that's an hour an episode, and you really have to watch it. And so it's tough for me to get into stuff. The movie theater is actually probably a better option, because you sit there and you're in the theater and you're not distracted by anything else. So I should probably try and get to watching a few more movies, I think.
Okay. Will you watch the Emmys tonight, or probably not?
I think so. It's on Fox, so they're going to be promoting our show during the Emmys. So I probably will watch it just to see how much press we get during the show.
Cool.
Yeah. I have one question. Did you actually see BoJack Horseman? Because it's it's an animated show on Netflix, which is about a horse living in LA. So
I know about it, but I haven't watched it. Is it good?
It is really, really, really good. So it's my favorite right now, and I try to get it to Ansgar, but he's irresistible. I don't know, for some reason, it's my suggestion for him and maybe for you to see it, because it's really, really good, and it has many layers to it. So it's
it's about depression, isn't it? Isn't it about depression?
Yeah, it is, but it's funny also. So in a way, it has it has comical layers and other layers inside, and it's about depression, because it's a horse known from a TV show 20 years ago, and he's now living in LA with nothing, only living in the past, right? And drinks all the time and has a sad life, but it's very funny.
I think that's kind of interesting. We went to dinner last year with Peter Fonda and his wife, Peter, who unfortunately just passed away. And that was when Walking Dead was happening. And Peter Fonda's wife said to Jennifer and I, like, there'll be a time when it stops for you and it won't be like it was and blah, blah, blah. And Jennifer and I aren't really those kinds of people who buy into all that kind of stuff in the first place. So we were like, oh, yeah, well, we're not really. And I think, she had been used to being Peter's wife and, Peter Fonda is like, super famous. But we're not really those people. And we don't go to those big events and we're not like, oh, wow, exciting, famous people. So I think that's all about how much you buy into it and how much you want people to think that of you, that you're that famous person. And I think, if this show goes well, now's the time for me to kind of start to shape that public image of myself and who I want to be in that. And if I made that choice to be like, oh, I'm going to be this big famous movie star Tom Payne, I'm going to be this character, which some people do, that's what they want. But I think if you build your house on that, then it's very unsteady.
You're right.
Psychologically for you, because once it goes away, then I think you're a bit fucked. And so we're very aware of that, and we don't want to get involved in that because there will come a time when it's not there anymore, and then you're depressing yourself then. So we're trying to get away from that.
Yeah, you're right.
Actually, one question: as you said, you're still engaged and making plans to get married. Do you have any concrete plans for that? Are you going to get married next year? This year?
We booked a spot in New York in April. So we have a date that we're working towards, and it's going to cost me a lot more money than I thought it was going to cost me. It's New York wedding is no joke, but we're excited about it because we've got friends coming from everywhere, and we want it to be a great fun party for everyone in New York. So we're really excited about it. But yeah, it's definitely expensive.
I can believe that. So where are you going to watch tomorrow at 9? Are you going to have people from the production watching all together, or will you still be shooting tomorrow at 9 p.m.?
I don't know. I might still be shooting. If not, then I'll be around at someone's house. I mean, one of the other cast members, I think, because it would be nice if we could live tweet and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully I can be around at someone's house, but we'll see.
Okay. Cool. Then. Thanks a lot for your time, man. And
thank you for being the first guest on Cuto Cuto, right?
Yes.
No problem. My pleasure.
Take care and all the best for the show tomorrow. And I think it's going to be great. And really excited what's going to come next, right?
Yes, very much so. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Then thanks a lot and take care.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye.
Cuto, 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 Cuto!
Ja, da ist er wieder weg, ne? Das war das Interview. Ich muss echt sagen, wie nett kann ein Typ eigentlich sein, ne? Also das frage ich mich wirklich. Also ohne zu schleimen, Tom Payne ist ein total super netter, bodenständiger Dude irgendwie so, oder nicht? Wie fandst du das Interview?
Also ich fand es wirklich, ich fand es in der Hinsicht bemerkenswert, weil hat der gute Mann noch bis spät in die Nacht gedreht am Tag vorher und bei ihm war es morgens um 10 Uhr, hat sich einen Kaffee gemacht, sich mit uns hingesetzt und wir hatten ihm gesagt 10 bis 15 Minuten vielleicht.
Genau, 10 bis 15 Minuten, max 15.
Also und das Ganze, das muss man auch mal ganz ehrlich sagen, ist ein Gefallen, den er uns tut, wovon er selber so gut wie nichts hat und das ist das eine, aber er ist mega entspannt, also wirklich mega entspannt und ich glaube ihm auch das, was er sagt, dass er kein Arschlochtyp ist und auch nicht abgehoben, irgendwie, wenn er das versteckt, dann macht er das verdammt gut. Ich meine, gut, er ist Schauspieler, aber kann ich mir nicht vorstellen. Also er scheint wirklich mega entspannt zu sein und war es zu uns, super zuvorkommt, ja, mehr als positiv überrascht. Was euch angeht, wenn ihr sagt, ey, das fand ich irgendwie cool, hat mir Spaß gemacht, das Interview, mehr davon, dann schreibt uns das doch ruhig mal an unsere E-Mail-Adresse cutocuto.podcast@gmail.com und tut uns einen Gefallen, bewertet uns bei iTunes oder auch irgendwo anders, schreibt uns Kommentare, das motiviert uns weiterzumachen und solche Interviews vorzubereiten und dann knallhart nach 31 Folgen durchzuziehen.
So sieht es nämlich aus. Alles klar, das war's. Nichts mehr hinzuzufügen von meiner Seite. Bleibt weiter dran.
Thank you, Tom Payne.
Und ich bedanke mich fürs Zuhören und sage Tschüssikowski, bis dann.
Cuto Cuto.